Good morning, everybody. This morning's AutoAmateur Live is brought to you with a lot of coffee. It's been one of those days. Hey, Jeremy, good morning to you. And hey, John, thank you. The lift, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let me just get this up and running here so I can see the comments as well. Here we go. Hopefully you can hear me as well as see some of the comments I'm going to be landing. Well, yeah, so good morning. It's Sunday. It's not too early. I didn't want to make it too early for folks on the West Coast, and I didn't want to make it so late for, oh, good morning from Las Vegas. People in Europe that they weren't going to tune in. People in Australia and New Zealand, I have no idea what time it is right now. So, I'm sorry. But yeah, we're gonna have a bit of cars and coffee this morning. My friend Ben got me this for Christmas. He got me one of these with Porsche engraved on, and he got me another one with our Porsches and pancake engraved on it. And they're really good. But yeah, this morning, it's all about coffee. So good. So, this morning's live is all about the 996 car. It has been a while since I've talked about Project 996 in any great detail. And hey, hello from Malaysia. How are you doing? Thanks for joining in. Yeah, it's on the lift. It's sitting pretty. Last night, I spent a couple of hours detailing it, just, giving it the love and attention it deserves. But it's been off the road now since just after Thanksgiving, which is sad, right? It's really sad. Now, my 991 is sat like here. You can't see it because it's not part of the fun this morning. This is all about 996 lovers this morning. Well, I'm a little bit of 991, but it's all good. Yeah, it's been off the road since November. Challenge. We had an issue. We put it back together. My friends, Pat, Steve, and I worked on it over the summer. I'm going to give you, during this live, we're actually going to walk around it and you can see whatever you want to see. A lot of people have been asking questions about, well, what about this? What about that? You're going to get to see it all. This is like Project 996 under the covers, if you will. The thing I can't promise is that I can open up the engine cabin because the battery, unfortunately, this morning has died. Despite being on a tickler, it's died. So electronics aren't working. But I've got it up on the lift and we're gonna go for a walk around. So let's do a little bit of a recap first. About this time last year, myself and Pat wanted to go in on a project car together and have something to work on while we were in the pandemic. We put the word out to our friends here in the Twin Cities and asked if there was anyone else that'd be interested in doing the job with us. And our friend Steve, who's very sort of mechanically oriented, he's a Boxster driver and an Audi driver. I think he responded within about 10 seconds and was like, yes, I'm in. Let me be part of this. So the three amigos here got our hands on this 996 from a guy called Lewis in Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. And he had a problem with it. Transmission had broken. He'd had it for a year or so. He'd done the IMS job, so I thought, winner. A 996 with the IMS finished. He was asking $5,000. Didn't try and haggle. I thought that was a perfectly reasonable offer for a 996. In the condition that it wasn't in great condition, and obviously it wasn't roadworthy, but here it is. So $5,000, and about 5 days later, this baby rolls up in silver outside of my house, and Pat and Steve and I get to work on it. Well, we're gonna walk around and I'm gonna tell you about all the things that we did to this car, and tell you sort of what we spent, what it took, the kind of tools we used, and give you a good idea for those of you who haven't seen the full series about what we did. And if you've got any questions along the way, I'm gonna try and answer them as well. I've got sort of two devices going here, so we'll see how I can manage that. But yeah, fortunately, once we finished everything, we got this back on the road. It drove beautifully for like a day. Pat and Steve took it out for a drive. I did some droning to get some footage, aerial footage. The next day, I thought I'd go and make a video out and put a little bit more content out there, a better reveal sort of video. And unfortunately, Within an hour of driving, I started to lose second gear, started to lose third gear. I ended up limping home. No, sorry, I lost first and third, and I ended up limping home using a combination of second and fourth. About 2 miles away, managed to get home, and it just broke. And we found out that the transmission bell housing broke again, which was the problem with the first transmission that we had. But not only that, there's a little bit of damage to the casing on the underside of the engine. So we've been at this crossroads for the past couple of months thinking, do we give up? Do we sell it, recover our losses? If we're lucky, do we keep going, get another transmission, potentially rebuild the engine or find a new engine? We're still sort of like going backwards and forwards, but I've got some ideas. And we're going to share those as well this morning. So let's take a quick look at the comments before we get started. Who have we got? Jeremy, John, Josiah. Yeah, my 991's still here. Hey, from Viva Las Vegas. Awesome. So many awesome people dialing in. All right, here we go. Hello from Malaysia. Questions. What questions do we have? Yeah, I still have my 991. It's right behind. I'm not like revealing that I've got only a 996. The 991's still here. That's my daily driver. I've got some fun jobs coming up on that soon. Wing. Where did I get this wing? So yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to look at this morning. Hang on. Got my coffee in my hand. This might not work very well. That beautiful ducktail wing cost us about $450 from Amazon. And we got it painted with the car, so it wasn't painted by itself. If you were going to get, if you did just want to add this to your car and you wanted to get it painted, you're probably looking at about $400, I think, from any sort of body shop to paint that for you. Maybe another $100 if you wanted it installing as well. So for about $1,000, you can get yourself a ducktail spoiler like that. Skinny Pedal says, "Please don't abandon the 996." I know, I really don't want to. I'm going to talk more about what that plan is in a little bit. Hello, Andy. Sunny Southend-on-Sea. Awesome. Fellow Brit in the house. Fantastic. What would you all ask for the 996 as it is? So I think like a couple of things. One, we want to try and recover. Are we back online? Technical challenges here this morning in the AutoAmateur garage. Okay, we're back. Yeah, fair market price for this. So this is, apart from the transmission and the engine, this car is good to go. So I think fair market price would probably be around 10, 11, maybe 12 grand if we put it on an auction site. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but the market for the 996s right now is hot. So as a roller, you could probably roll this away for anywhere between sort of like $10,000 to $12,000. If this was fully functional and we just sold it, privately on Auto Trader or what have you, we could probably get anywhere between sort of 20, 22, maybe even 25,000 for it. And right now we've put in about 11. Now, the plan wasn't to make money on this car. It was purely just a project car. And then we were thinking of selling it, maybe, I don't know what we were thinking about doing it. We just wanted to get it working. But yeah, we're now in a position where we've gone so far, we could sell it and recover some, if not all of our costs, or we could keep going, get it finished, but that means putting in more money, of course, and then seeing what the end product is. The thing I'm most worried about, and sort of I'm jumping ahead and all around here, this is like getting into the options analysis. The thing I'm worried about is, even if we got ourselves a relatively cheap transmission and the engine build wasn't particularly complicated, I'm sort of worried that there is another problem lurking there, and the thing might happen again. Now, I've spoken to mechanics, I've spoken to friends in the business, I've spoken to people that work on 996s, 997s, and what they think is when the IMS bearing was changed, the transmission wasn't connected back on properly. So there wasn't anything wrong with the engine, but the transmission wasn't aligned properly back on after they did the IMS. And pretty quickly after that job was done, from what I understand from the previous owner, that's when the vibrations were happening and then the transmission broke. So it's probably something to do with that. But I think whether it's this engine rebuilt with a new transmission or a new combo, we buy something that's together, then I think that's probably, that's a flyer. That's going to work really well. All right, sunny Southend-on-Sea, hello. Viva Las Cambridgeshire, how are you doing? All right, so let's go take a walk around the car. I've just got to have one more big swig of coffee because it's been one of those days. It's actually been one of those weeks. I've had to cancel like 2 podcasts in the past couple of days because my voice sounded like this and I've been Barry White's kind of style. I don't have COVID though, which is good, but my little Adam did give me a bit of a chesty cough this week. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's get this show on the road. So I'm going to move my my comment station with me as we start walking over here to the 996, and I'm going to come back to it. Well, I'm going to put it over here where the Wi-Fi is stronger, and I'll come back to it and answer comments and questions as we go. But I'm going to start off. By showing you the car. All right, let's flip this around. So here is the 996. So I think, one of the first thing people comment on, and the obvious thing staring you in the face, is the fact that it's blue. It has a wonderful, wonderful brand new paint job. We go in and take a look. There's a little bit of hair there. I gave it a good polish up yesterday. I detailed it, I gave it some Ammo NYC love, and the color is just absolutely spectacular. And this was done by Ado's Body Shop in Bloomington, Minnesota. And he gave us a great deal in exchange for some videos. And he did the guys there, Hussein and Ado and all those guys, they did an absolutely phenomenal job of this paintwork. And actually, did you know, recently Porsche, I think it was Porsche, they did a online knockout competition of the all-time favorite colors of 911s. Something very similar to this one. I think it was the sapphire blue or the cobalt blue. One of those blues very similar to this. Won. And we chose this way before that competition. So I feel like we looked out there. So we've got a highly desirable colored 996 sitting right here. The paint job is just fantastic. They did such a good job. So let's go take a look. So yeah, a lot of paint jobs will just, do the exterior, which, is great. Lee Sibley, friend of mine, who you all know as either Lee or that 911 guy from 911, he repainted his car Irish green, and he just did the exterior. He didn't do the inside of the car. We wanted to make sure that this car was blue. It was giving up its silver heritage, and it was going to be blue. So you can look anywhere in the car, and we will. And you'll see that inside the door jambs, which I maybe should have cleaned better because they're a little bit dusty. Carrera. Everything is blue. Like you look all the way back there, that's rubber seal, that's not silver. You look all the way down there, it's blue. The joints, the side of the door, the underside of the door, everything is blue. And for a car that has 170,000 miles on it, it's actually in really good condition. This car's been driven a lot, it's been loved a lot. Yeah, the leather could be in slightly better nick. And this is one leather issue that we've got to resolve. So we're probably going to get new seats, so we're going to, do something. But that needs to be fixed. But apart from that, the interior itself is in really good condition. So let's go around to the back of the car. Look at the job on that ducktail. It looks so good. Really good. And for what was $400 or $500 from eBay, you really can't complain too much. That's a great looking ducktail. And it's got the GT3 style grills, which are plastic, not metal. And then we got the black Carrera emblem on the back, which is one of my favorite things. So you see, yeah, it's a blue car. They were also very kind to replace all of these gaskets. So they didn't just put the old ones back on. So all of these gaskets look factory fresh, which again, for a 996, for a car which is now almost 20 years old, to have a car not only with a brand new paint job, with, factory quality paint. It's not factory standard paint because this isn't an OEM Porsche paint, even though the color is almost identical to barley blue. It's factory quality, and it's got like 4 or 5 layers of clear coat. They did a load of clear coat on top of this to make sure that it was well protected. It looks fantastic, but to have a car like this age, with the paint in this quality, with the sills and all of the gaskets brand new, I mean, it looks like a factory fresh car, basically. There are a couple of things that, we could do better. We refinished these so they looked, properly black. And considering it was done a year ago, and yeah, it's been a year ago. It hasn't been outside and on the road very much, but it still looks black. I've got a couple of little things here like this missing, which are in the box to be, we haven't lost them. They're in the box to be fixed. The paint job looks great. And then down here, this is the headlight that we restored, which Steve did an amazing job on restoring. Look how clear that light is. Just look how clear that lamp is. It looks fantastic. And then over here, our beautiful emblem. This is a new quote-unquote headlight that we bought because the previous one was broken down here. I've got a new headlight washer for it. This pops up and washes the headlights. So I've got a new cover that's going to go on there. And then we just need to, chat up Steve to come back and redo this headlight for us because I had to go, and obviously I'm not as good as Steve because that was my attempt. And that's Steve's attempt. Maybe I could have worked harder, but I did what I did. So Steve can maybe do that for us if he's up for it. Look at it. It's got the sporty front lip as opposed to the basic Carrera front lip. Let's see if we can get into the front. And look, the inside, it's all blue. You would never know this car was originally silver, which is just absolutely fantastic. And then, I've got a load of crap in here that I need to take out. But essentially, I mean, look, this has all been refinished. Looks black. This is missing a cover, of course. I had the trickler plugged in, but unfortunately it didn't help with the battery. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. All right, so let's pause there for a second and just look, here's my 991. Let's just pause there for a second and take a few more questions. Hello, don't go anywhere. Stay there. I see Katie Cole has joined. Good morning, Katie. Jackie Chan has joined? No, Jack Chan. Okay. You must get that all the time. Sorry, mate. Hello from Southern Alberta. Great. I love Calgary. How you doing? Yeah. So yeah, the color, I know. Thank you very much. It's all looking very good. So that's the color. Okay, so people have asked, how much will a paint job cost? And that's a really good question. David, what did I use to restore the black plastic? Let me show you. You know what, David? I'm not going to show you because I don't have any left. But it was just an off-the-shelf black trim restorer. There are quite a few out there, so. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I don't have any left. 1 second. It's live. Sorry, guys. I can't edit this out. Like I say, I've got a chesty throat at the moment. A throaty chest, whatever. So, paint job. If you're going to pay for a paint job, well, let's start with wraps. Because a lot of people go back and forth between, do I wrap my car because I don't like the color? Do I paint my car because I don't like the color? I'll say this first. Having had a wrap, and as much as I love it, I haven't actually, I don't think I'd do it again. I really don't think I'd do it again. It looked great for a while, and I got a deal on it, so that makes me feel a bit better about life. Had I not, I don't think I would have felt so good. It lasted 9 months before I got holes all over the place and little bubbles, and it honestly wasn't a product of the quality of the labor that the shop did. It was just the material. And the material, driving around on roads, picking up rock chips, the best labor in the world is not going to stop a wrap from getting rock chips. And then it's not going to stop that rock chip from sort of peeling away and expanding and turning into bubbles. Now, the shop were very kind and said I could go back and, get it fixed, blah, 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 but I didn't do it again. So any sort of wrap for a 911 is going to run you, depending on the material, depending on the shop, my guess would be somewhere between $3,000 to $4,000. You can probably get it as cheap as $2,700. You can probably pay even more than $4,000, depending if you want to go on those like holographic kind of trips and make it look super sparkly and rainbows and unicorns and all that sort of stuff. But I'd say a run-of-the-mill kind of wrap is going to take you from $3,000 to $4,000. And then if you want to protect the wrap, so it really does last 2 or 3 years without damaging your paint, because if you leave it on longer, it can damage your paint. You probably want to put PPF, paint protection film, over the wrap. And that's going to cost you another $2,000. So you're like $5,000 or $6,000 into a wrap on a car which is going to last 2 or 3 years. If a temporary solution is what you want, you could spend $6,000 trading up your car to get a different one in the color that you want. But if your money's like this, go for it. Go for it. Now, for a paint job, you're looking at anywhere from sort of $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000 in that kind of ballpark. Maybe a little more depending on the car and the shop and labor rates in California, for example, probably more than here in Minnesota, probably same for New York City. The paint's going to cost you what it's going to cost you, which might be $1,000, maybe $1,500. The rest is labor, so it's dependent on the shop and it's dependent on where you are and then the complexity of the car. This would have cost full whack, probably about $7,500 to get it repainted. And we got a discount from Addo in exchange for the videos and promotion and so on. But that's what it would have cost full whack, so $7,500 grand. And that was not just the exterior color, which probably would have only been about $4,000. That was making it a blue car, like Shazam! It's no longer silver, it's now blue. So that's what you're looking at if you want to spend that kind of money. Now, the flip side, for people who own cars, who want to paint their cars, I've heard, don't quote me, that if you go and sell it in the future, it can devalue your car, especially if it's just a run-of-the-mill car like a Chevy Camaro or Chevy Camaro? Yeah, Chevy Camaro or a Camry or a Highlander. I'm sorry for putting the Camaro in those categories, guys, but I'm thinking of just like, major mainstream kind of brand cars. If it's been repainted, people are going to think, why would you spend that much money repainting a $20,000 car? It's probably been an accident. Probably can't trust that I can buy it. For these kind of cars, these high-end collectible cars, and yes, there are more collectible Porsches, but generally speaking, the higher-end cars like Porsches, a brand new paint job is actually something that people like because they want to buy these cars to look good and to own them, and a lot of people keep them forever. So a brand new paint job on a $20,000 car, which you're going to pick up for $25,000, that is a positive when you're buying a Porsche. So it is what it is. So there's the paint job. We haven't discussed the engine issue yet, Ryan. We'll come to that. Katie, yeah, if I put a wrap on, I would get to peel it off again, and that would not be fun. All right, let's go back to the car. All right, so we did the paint job. Let's call that $6,000. I can't remember off the top of my head now what we paid, but let's call that $6,000. Maybe it was $5,000 or even less. It's been a while now. You can tell this job is a while. So the price of the car, $5,000. We did the paint, let's say, for $5,000. Next up, the rims. Got the rims from a specialist rim shop in California that sells the majority of their products online, on eBay actually. And these are Fuchs style. They're not actually Fuchs, they're Fuchs style. And a lot of people have asked about these as well. And they come with the Porsche center cap. And for those complete Porsche nuts out there, the center cap is pointed at the valve stem, which is the way it should. And those rims cost us, I want to say around $500 or $600. I'm actually missing the center cap here. That's in my cupboard, needs to be replaced. We got the black lug nuts as well to go with the rims. And I think they look fantastic on the side of the car. They're 19-inch. We were thinking about going full 20, but that was just too much. I think 20s can work on a 996, but you know, will they feel as comfortable? Will they make the driving a little awkward? That's what we were worried about. So we stuck with the 20s. Sorry, we stuck with the 19s. But I think they look really sharp. And then the other thing, of course, that you can notice is the orange calipers. Now, this was actually Steve's idea, and Pat and I loved it when he showed us the visualization, what he was thinking about, because there was a vintage Porsche, I think it was a Singer, that was in barley blue, which is a little darker than this, with the orange wheels, orange calipers, black wheels, and it all just went together perfectly. And they actually took the orange accents inside, and we were thinking about maybe doing that on the interior here somehow, like maybe an orange center gauge face, which I'm actually about to release on my website for the 996 and 997s. They're going to be coming out very soon. There were other orange accents maybe we're thinking about. Now, because the car broke down, we haven't yet got to the interior, so it is what it is right now. But I think just looking at the car, the blue and the orange and the black, overwhelmingly it seems from responses online, people think that it works sort of really, really well together, and I'd have to agree. The only thing that maybe I think about is whether or not the chrome lip on the wheel really works, because there's no more chrome on the car, but I can live with that. I think that looks pretty cool. So we did the wheels, we did the brake calipers. The brake calipers were powder coated for us. A local shop here in south of the river in the Twin Cities. It cost us about $100 a caliper. I think it was something like that. So $400 total, which I think is completely fair enough. We took the calipers apart, and there's a DIY video on my website for how to do that. The calipers were completely stripped down, taken off the car, and then taken to the shop. They powder coated them for us. And then when we brought them back, we put the Porsche decals back on, and they look really stunning. Now, one of the reasons I put the car up on the lift today is because the other thing we did was the Vista Mufflers, and you can see them in there, coated in black velvet. Darren Vista at FD Motorsports really did us a great favor by donating those mufflers to this project. So we got ourselves a set of $500 or $600 FD Motorsport mufflers, courtesy of FD Motorsports, and we are very grateful for that, Darren. Thank you. And then, of course, we did all the other things like oil change and air filter changes, and we did the brake pads, the brake flush. We did all of those things. Now, for those of you who want to know and want to see the damage, I, James the AutoAmateur, will be struggling to get under this car today. No, not struggling, because we're going to get it up on the lift. Let's get it up on the lift. All right, when you have a chance, how much did it cost for my 991 to be wrapped? As I mentioned a little earlier, you would pay sort of about $3.5, $4 grand for that, depending on the shop. Stony Creek, Ontario, hello. Hello from Devon and North Carolina. Oh, that reminds me. For anyone interested, Jay Reed and I had such a great time at the Tail of the Dragon that we've already plotted our return. We're going to be going back from September 30th, which I think is a Thursday, staying until the Monday, which is October 4th. And we're going to do a bunch of driving in the area, not just the Tail of the Dragon. We're going to be going all over the Smokies, staying in that region. We're not going to Atlanta this time, just staying in that region, 4 days of driving. We're going to do at least one car meet on the Saturday morning, maybe one on the Friday night with some roadside barbecue kind of thrown in. But if you're interested, there are months to plan your trip. Months to plan your trip. Information will be going on my website, AutoAmateur.com, and Jay and I at the Jay Reed Car Channel will be putting out more information as we go. But keep your eyes on that. All right. Kids, don't try this at home. I'll be right back. I think we're safe. All right, so for those of you who want to see the damage that happened to the bell housing and to the transmission and to the bottom of the engine, let's go take a look. Bear with me. Hey, Mohammed. Bear with me as I crouch down. And before you say it, yes, I know. I should have gone for the full lift. And maybe that's a mistake I will rectify in the future because I've got a lot more ceiling room. I could have gone for the full side lift, but I didn't. I probably should have done. However, what if I was to get one of those lifts that allows you to work on one car and store the other? Or at least, you know what I mean? Stack the cars. Hint, hint. Don't want to get rid of this, maybe? Ruthie's inside. I don't want her to hear that. All right, let's take a look. I'm not sure if we're going to need a flashlight for this. We might. Let's have a dig. Hang on. You know what? Again, forgive me. This is what happens when you live stream and you don't have anyone to help. You just have to kind of roll with the punches. So let's take my studio lights and get them under the car. Oi! Welcome to the underside of my 996. So, and I'm going to keep the drip pan under there because we still have a little bit of a drip. Okay, so there's the transmission. It goes from the front of the car, runs down the center. I'm going to line my back so I can point. Here's the transmission. Here are the axles, or the half axles, that connect to the wheels. And then the transmission comes down and connects to, under here, maybe this is where I need more light, the bell housing connects to the engine. Here's the IMS solution, which, as you can see here, is dripping oil because there's some damage. The actual base of the engine here is still intact, it's fine. Like the headers, the mufflers, everything under there is fine. But essentially, I'm sorry if, I hope you can see this okay, hang on. 1 second. Yeah, so the base of the engine is fine. So are the headers. The cross member is still intact. All the suspension is fine. The mufflers are okay. Here is the IMS solution that's been retrofitted, which feeds oil to the bearing, the IMS bearing. And that is dripping oil, unfortunately. Let's get a close look. Hope you can see that. You can see that there's dripping oil. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's start again, because I know I screwed that up a little bit. There's the front of the car. Coming back, here's the transmission. So it starts here, comes down. Here are the half axles. I think that's where you would take the transmission fluid out and flush the transmission fluid. Don't quote me. And then here's the IMS solution on the bottom of the engine. And as you can see, can you see the cracks? It's like right, if you see where the IMS bearing solution comes into the bottom of the engine, you can see on the casing there's a crack directly at 12 o'clock, and then there's a crack sort of at 11 o'clock. They're the two cracks on the engine, and actually, if you follow the fault line, the crack line, out from the IMS and go up, you can see the crack extends there. Sorry, just trying to get it in focus. The crack extends to the middle, and there's a crack as well. You see right there in the center of the shot. So that's the problem for the engine, is that where the bell housing is connected to the engine, the casing around the engine is cracked. And actually, I think if you were to look, let's see, can you just see? Basically, the IMS bearing is right there. It's kind of shining in the dark, center shot, right just above where the pipe goes into the engine. So we're guessing that it's something to do with how the IMS bearing was done, unfortunately. Now, let me see if I can show you the bell housing. Yeah. Let me see. So in here is where the transmission, there shouldn't be a gap there, basically. That's the bell housing on the outside of the transmission, and that should be flush with the engine here. But actually, there's a massive crack, and it cracks all the way around the outside like this. So if you imagine the transmission comes back like this, there is this huge, like, semicircle sphere with bolts that connects to the engine. It's actually like this, a semicircle sphere which connects to the engine with bolts. And instead of being flush with the engine, it's actually cracked and come away. That's what you're looking at right there. Which is, so annoying. And that's what happened to the transmission for poor old Lewis, the previous owner. Yeah, you can see more of the crack there. In fact, that's a better view. See that? That black gaping hole in the middle, that's the crack in the bell housing, and that should not be there. What a big fat bummer. Hey, so great comment from Ryan. Let me just flip it around. Yeah, it's strange that when the first transmission cracked, it didn't damage the engine. But then the second transmission that was put on it did crack the base of the engine. And I think that's just a cumulative effect. I think the first issue was severe enough that it broke the transmission. But it will have weakened the casing of the engine, even though it didn't break it. And then when we put the transmission back on, the new one, we connected it, and you know that it's flush when you put it back. If you install it properly, you know that it's flush, and there are checks that you can do to make sure you put it back on properly. I think the casing was already weak, and therefore the thing happened again. Now, yeah, this is where we start talking about what do we do. Do we replace the transmission again and replace the engine? New transmission's about $2,000. You can get an engine, if you're lucky, for about $7 or $8,000. You can get one with warranty from LA Dismantler for about $10,000, maybe a little more with shipping. What I'm hoping is that this existing engine can be rebuilt, that the casing can be rebuilt. So it's just then a question of getting the transmission changed. So the transmission plus some work on the engine, $5,000 maybe is what I'm hoping, which means that we can get it working and we can still sell it without taking a bath. But with a new transmission and a new engine itself, and we do the work, if we do the work ourselves, we're looking at $14,000 maybe. If we get somebody to do the work for us, to drop the transmission, put the engine in, we're probably looking at 20 all in, which is a deal breaker. If that's the case, we're gonna sell the car as is, and we won't do that. You know, Pat and I have still got a lot of talking to do about, you know, how we potentially finance this. And the one thing I will say is Eric Bassett of EBX 30 Fitness or EB30X Fitness in Chicago, he wants to go in and sponsor the transmission. And he wants to see this thing on the road. So we've got the transmission taken care of financially, which is fantastic. The question then is, what do we do with the engine? That's the question. So let's take another look. For those who just are gluttons for pain, there's the IMS. There's the crack on the bottom of the engine casing. And then, where's the crack in the transmission? Yeah, there's the crack in the bell housing right there. What an absolute bummer. So, we'll see. But you know, other than that, the car's mechanically sound. The suspension is in great condition. You know, the underside of the car, you can't see all of the plastic trim because that hasn't been put back on yet, of course. Brand new FD Motorsports. Let's see if we can see that. There it is. There's the logo. FD Motorsports, Vista Mufflers. All right. Let's try and not hit my head as I get up. All right. So back for final Q&A. I did see one thing. Yeah, we are missing the heat shielders over the mufflers. Correct. They are to be installed, and they're over there. Do I know why the exhaust tip dropped in the video where it cracked? So the exhaust tip just wasn't bolted on, you know, strong enough. Happened with my 997 when I did the Vista Mufflers. Got it back from the shop, and it was just a bit wonky. So that's just a bolt that needs tightening. Pretty simple there. Electrify it. Yeah, some people have been making that suggestion. The other one is the LS swap. Was the gearbox mount the original rubber one, or has someone fitted a poly brush mount in there? You know what? Good question. I don't know. Don't know about that. Sell it and walk away. Mark, that might be the answer. Are the engine mounts intact? Yes. In fact, Pat replaced the engine mounts himself. I did the video, he did the work. We got OEM ones, and it was actually quite interesting to see the old sort of mounts against the new mounts, because there was a little bit of sagging. They weren't in too bad shape, actually, for a car with 170,000 miles on the clock. So that's it, really, guys. The question is, what do we do? Somebody did suggest that I try and get a GoFundMe page started, and that it then goes from a project and potential moneymaker to a charity, and that might be a good idea, because the thing is, I really want to see this car on the road. I don't need to own this car. I just want this car to be done, and I want to say that I've had a hand in taking this old knackered, hail damaged 996. With some friends, turned it around in my garage, and now someone else is enjoying it. That would be awesome. I still get photos from the guy who bought my 997 every once in a while, which is fantastic to see that it's, you know, that it's still on the road. So if we did a GoFundMe page, I would turn this into a charitable event, and if the money we raise online pays for the car to get fixed, transmission and engine-wise, and then we sell it, we can donate any proceeds, any profits to charity and recover our losses. That might work. I don't know. It's a bit of a thinker. Like, we've been going backwards and forwards on this a lot, as you can imagine, over the past couple of months, and people ask about it every day. So that's it for this live. People, thank you for continuing to show interest in Project 996. If Project 996 would sort of like come to a conclusion, then Project 997 or Project 993 could start. But I've got to get this one out of the way first. I promised the wife. Thanks for checking in, guys. More videos coming soon. What have I got? Yesterday, I helped my friend Kostas install a backup camera on his 1977 vintage signal yellow 911S. Beautiful car. He's owned it for 40 years. That video is coming out soon. I've still got to put out the video from the Porsche Experience Center Atlanta. Unfortunately, Jay Reed beat me to the punch, and his video is so good. I'm kind of struggling with mine, to be perfectly honest with you. But if you haven't checked that out yet, go to Jay Reed's channel. The tack faces for the 991 and the 981, they're live on the website, and they are selling like hotcakes, which is incredible to see. I've got more variations of the 991 coming out with the 991.2 and the turbos and the GT3s and the GT3 RSs, where the rev counters go, mine and a number of 911s go to 9,000 RPM. The GT3s go to 10. The turbos go to 8. So we've got those variants coming out soon. And then the 996 instrument clusters and the 997s are going to be out soon too. So no later than the summer. It's going to be awesome. I've got people asking for those as well. But that's it. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for all your comments. I will see you in another post soon. Take care. Bye.